Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I've been driving 18-wheelers for 15 years now. Marcus Thompson's the name, and I've seen my share of weird stuff out on the highways. But what happened to me on Interstate 70 through Colorado back in January still keeps me up at night. It was around 2 in the morning, and I was hauling electronics from Denver to Grand Junction. A massive blizzard had hit the mountains, and visibility was damn near zero. The snow was coming down so hard my wipers could barely keep up. I was crawling along at maybe 25 miles per hour, white-knuckling the steering wheel. Company policy says never pick up hitchhikers. Insurance liability, they say. But when you're out there alone for weeks at a time, sometimes you break the rules for a little human company. That's exactly what I did when I spotted her. She was standing next to a broken-down sedan on the shoulder, wearing nothing but a thin jacket. No gloves, no hat. Just standing there in the middle of a Colorado blizzard like it was a summer evening. My headlights caught her waving, and I could see she was a woman, probably in her 30s with long dark hair. I pulled over and rolled down my passenger window. The cold hit me like a slap across the face. "You need help, miss," I called out over the howling wind. She walked over to my cab, and that's when I noticed something odd. She was wearing sunglasses. Dark sunglasses at 2 in the morning during a snowstorm. "My car broke down," she said in this flat, emotionless voice. "I need to get to Denver." "Well, hop in then. It's freezing out there." She climbed into my passenger seat, and I noticed her clothes weren't even damp. She'd been standing in heavy snow for who knows how long, but she was bone dry. "I'm Marcus," I said, pulling back onto the highway. "What's your name?" "Sarah." That was it. Just Sarah. No last name, no thank you for stopping. Nothing. She sat there staring straight ahead through those dark sunglasses. I tried making conversation, asked her what she did for work, where in Denver she was heading, but every answer was short and flat. She spoke like a robot reading from a script. "You hungry?" I offered, pointing to my cooler. "Got some sandwiches and sodas back there." "No." "Coffee?" "It's fresh." "No." She kept checking her phone, but here's the thing that really got to me. The screen was black, completely black. She'd hold it up, look at it, then put it back down. Over and over. The storm was getting worse. I had to keep the CB radio on to get road condition updates from other truckers. That's when things started getting really weird. Around mile marker 171, my CB crackled to life. "Breaker 19, this is Sarah looking for a ride to Denver. Anyone copy?" I looked over at my passenger. Her lips weren't moving, but that was definitely her voice coming through the radio. "Did you just—" I started to ask, but she cut me off. "Turn left at the next exit." "Ma'am, we need to stay on I-70. That exit leads into the mountains." "Turn left." Her voice had this commanding tone now, completely different from the monotone she'd been using. I kept driving straight. That's when I noticed her clothes were still completely dry. Not just dry. They looked like they'd never seen snow at all. She'd been standing outside in a blizzard, but there wasn't even a single snowflake melting on her jacket. "How did you know I was heading to Grand Junction?" I asked. She turned those sunglasses toward me. "You never said you were going to Grand Junction." A chill ran down my spine. She was right. I'd told her I could take her to Denver, but I never mentioned my final destination. The CB crackled again. "This is Sarah. I'm in a blue Peterbilt heading west on I-70. Someone please help me." I grabbed the radio. "This is Marcus in the blue Peterbilt." "Who is this?" "Static." I looked at Sarah. She was smiling now, but it wasn't a normal smile. Her lips were stretched too wide, and I couldn't see her eyes behind those glasses. "Pull over at the next truck stop," she said. My hands were shaking on the wheel. Something was very, very wrong. But what was I supposed to do? Throw a woman out into a blizzard? The Flying J truck stop appeared through the snow like a beacon. I pulled in and parked under the bright lights. There were maybe 4 other trucks in the lot, all covered in snow. "I need to use the restroom," Sarah said. "Sure thing." She got out and I watched her walk toward the building. The moment she was out of sight, I locked my doors and started the engine. I was getting out of there. But when I looked in my passenger seat, she was still there. I blinked hard, thinking I was seeing things. The seat was empty, then she was there, then empty again. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. Empty. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. Then I decided to go into the truck stop and ask if anyone had seen her. The night clerk was a young guy, probably college-aged. "Excuse me," I said. "Did you see a woman come in here?" Dark hair, sunglasses. He looked at me strangely. "Sir, you've been parked out there for 20 minutes. Nobody's come in or out except you." I asked him to check the security footage. He was reluctant at first, but I must have looked pretty shaken up because he finally agreed. We watched the footage from when I pulled in. There I was, parking my truck, getting out, walking to the building, but in the cab. I was talking to an empty seat, gesturing to nobody. For 20 minutes, the camera showed me having a full conversation with thin air. If you're still listening, you probably enjoy stories like this. A like or a comment helps keep them alive. I left that truck stop and drove straight through to Grand Junction. Didn't stop, didn't sleep, just kept the radio on and the lights bright. 2 days later, I looked up accident on I-70 near mile marker 171. Found a news article from 3 years ago. Sarah Michelle Watson, 34, killed in a single car accident during a blizzard. Her car had skidded off the road and hit a tree. She was found wearing a thin jacket and dark sunglasses. She'd been trying to get to Denver to see her sister. I still drive I-70, but I never stop for hitchhikers anymore. And on snowy nights, when the CB crackles with static, sometimes I hear her voice. "This is Sarah, looking for a ride to Denver." I just turn the radio off and keep driving. My name's Elena Rodriguez, and I've been an independent owner-operator for 8 years. I haul electronics mostly, running routes between Vegas and Reno. It's good money, but it's lonely work. That loneliness almost cost me my life last summer. It was July, hotter than hell in the Nevada desert. I was pulling a full load of televisions and computers from Las Vegas up to Reno, taking Highway 95 north through some of the most desolate country you can imagine. The air conditioning in my cab was working overtime, but the engine was running hot, so I had to keep my speed down. Just outside Beatty, maybe 20 miles from the California border, I saw him, a man in his 50s, well-dressed in khakis and a polo shirt, standing next to what looked like an expensive RV. He was waving frantically, holding what appeared to be a briefcase. I pulled over. He jogged up to my passenger door with a big smile. "Thank goodness someone stopped," he said, breathing heavy. "I'm Robert. Robert Hayes. My RV broke down about an hour ago, and my cell phone's getting no signal out here." He seemed harmless enough. Clean-cut, polite, spoke with a slight southern accent. The kind of guy you'd expect to see at a church barbecue. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "Reno, same as you, I'm guessing. I'm a traveling salesman. Electronics, actually." He gestured toward my trailer. "Looks like we're in the same business." I told him to hop in. Company was company, and the drive to Reno would go faster with someone to talk to. Robert climbed into my passenger seat, setting his briefcase carefully on the floor. "I can't thank you enough," he said. "Name's Robert Hayes, like I said. What's yours?" Elena Rodriguez. Beautiful name." "You married Elena?" The question caught me off guard. "Why do you ask?" Just making conversation. You seem like a nice lady. Bet you got family worried about you out here all alone. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. I can take care of myself. I'm sure you can. He was looking around my cab now, taking in details. Nice setup you got here. This a Kenworth? Peterbilt. Right. How long you been driving? I told him, and he kept asking questions. Where was I based? What routes did I usually run? Did I always drive alone? How often did I pick up hitchhikers? His briefcase kept making weird noises, like metal clinking against metal. What's in there? I asked. Tools of the trade, he said with that same friendly smile. Mind if I take a few pictures? For insurance purposes. My company likes documentation when I ride with other drivers. Before I could answer, he was already snapping photos with his phone. Pictures of my dashboard, my CB radio, the interior of my sleeper cab. Hey, I don't remember saying you could... Sorry. Habit. He put his phone away, but not before I saw the screen. There were dozens of photos, different truck interiors, different dashboards. How many drivers had he ridden with? We'd been driving for about an hour when I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, at a rest stop we were passing, was the same RV Robert claimed had broken down. It was parked perfectly, no signs of mechanical trouble. Robert, I said slowly, isn't that your RV back there? He turned to look, and for just a second his friendly mask slipped. His eyes went hard and calculating. Must be one that looks similar, he said. Mine still broke down back there. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I started paying closer attention to Robert's behavior. He kept getting text messages, and I caught glimpses of the photos being sent to him. More truck interiors, more dashboards. Then I noticed he was sketching something in a small notebook. He was drawing a layout of my sleeper cab, noting where I kept my keys, where the CB radio was mounted, even where I stored my cash. That's when it hit me. Robert wasn't a stranded motorist. He was hunting. I needed to get him out of my truck, but we were in the middle of nowhere. The next town was 40 miles away. I had to play it cool. You know what? I said. I need to make a quick stop. Got to check my tire pressure. There was a small rest area coming up, just a couple of picnic tables and a bathroom. I pulled in and parked. Be right back, I said, grabbing my phone. I went into the bathroom and immediately called 911. Told them I had a suspicious passenger who I believed was planning to rob me. The dispatcher said state police were en route. When I came back out, Robert was standing by my truck talking on his phone. He was speaking too quietly for me to hear, but his body language was all wrong. Tense, predatory. Everything okay? I asked. Fine. Just checking in with my wife. 20 minutes later, 2 Nevada State Police cruisers pulled into the rest area. The officers approached Robert first. Sir, we need to see some identification. What's this about? Robert's friendly demeanor was back, but there was panic in his eyes. Just routine. Can we take a look in that briefcase? That's when Robert tried to run. He made it maybe 30 feet before they tackled him. The briefcase was full of lock-picking tools, master keys for different truck models, and a collection of driver's licenses. Men and women, all truckers, all reported missing over the past 2 years. One of the officers pulled me aside. Ma'am, you probably saved your own life today. We've been tracking this guy across 3 states. He targets independent drivers, robs them, then steals their rigs. The drivers, well, we're still looking for them. They never found the missing drivers. Robert Hayes refused to talk, even when they offered him a plea deal. He's serving life in Nevada State Prison now. I still drive the same routes, but I don't pick up hitchhikers anymore. And when I'm stopped at rest areas, I pay attention to who's watching, who's taking pictures, who's asking too many questions. Sometimes I wonder how many other drivers are out there who weren't as lucky as I was. How many Robert Hayes types are standing beside broken-down vehicles, waiting for someone kind enough to stop? The desert keeps its secrets, but sometimes, if you're careful and you're lucky, you get to keep yours too. I'm David Kim, and I've only been driving truck for about 3 months now. Still pretty green, which is probably why what happened to me in West Virginia scared me so bad. An experienced driver would have known better. I was hauling auto parts from Baltimore to Charleston, taking my first solo run through the mountains. It was early October, and the fog was thick as soup. My GPS had been acting up all day, losing signal every time I went through a tunnel or around a sharp curve. Around 8 o'clock at night, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, my GPS completely died. The screen just went black. I was on some narrow mountain road that wasn't even marked, and I was running low on fuel. Real low. I pulled over and tried to get my bearings. The fog was so thick I could barely see 10 feet in front of my headlights. No cell service, no GPS, and maybe 20 miles of diesel left in my tanks. That's when she appeared. 1 second, the road was empty. The next, there was a girl, maybe 16 or 17, standing right in front of my truck. She had blonde hair and was wearing a blue dress that looked like it was from the 1980s. I rolled down my window. "You okay, miss?" She walked over with a big smile. "I'm Amy. Are you lost?" "Yeah, actually. My GPS quit working. You know where the nearest gas station is?" "Oh, sure. There's a Sunoco about 5 miles down this road. I can show you the way if you want. I know these mountains like the back of my hand. I should have been more careful. Should have asked what a teenage girl was doing alone on a mountain road at night. But I was panicked about running out of fuel, and she seemed harmless enough." "Hop in then." Amy climbed into my passenger seat and immediately started giving directions. "Just keep going straight for about 2 miles. Then there's a left turn that's easy to miss." She was chatty, friendly. Told me she lived in these mountains her whole life, knew every road and trail. Said she was walking home from a friend's house when she saw my headlights. "You're not from around here," she said. "I can tell by your accent." "California originally. Still getting used to the East Coast." "Oh, you'll love it here. These mountains are special. Once you're here, it's hard to leave." The fog seemed to be getting thicker instead of clearing up. I had to slow down to maybe 15 miles per hour just to stay on the road. "Turn left up here," Amy said, pointing into what looked like solid wall of fog. I could barely make out a narrow dirt road branching off to the left. "You sure that's right? Looks like it goes deeper into the mountains." "Trust me. This is a shortcut. Cuts off about 10 miles. I made the turn, but something felt wrong. The road was getting narrower and more winding. Trees pressed in on both sides, their branches scraping against my trailer. "How much further?" I asked. "We're almost there, just around the next bend, but there was no gas station around the next bend. Just more fog and more narrow road." I checked my fuel gauge. I was running on fumes now. "Amy, I don't think this is right. We need to turn around." No, it's just a little further. I promise I'd been driving for over an hour on what was supposed to be a 5-mile shortcut. The road had turned into barely more than a trail, and I was starting to panic. "I'm turning around," I said. "You can't." "The road's too narrow." She was right. There was nowhere to turn around a full-size semi on this mountain trail. That's when I noticed something weird. I glanced over at Amy, then looked at my passenger side mirror. Amy's reflection wasn't there. The seat looked empty in the mirror, even though she was sitting right next to me. I blinked hard and looked again. Still no reflection. "Amy, what?" My CB radio crackled to life. "Breaker 19. This is David Kim in a red Freightliner. I'm lost on some mountain road in West Virginia. Can anybody copy?" I stared at the radio. I hadn't touched it. but that was definitely my voice coming through the speaker. "Please, somebody help me. I've been driving in circles for hours. There's a girl here, but I don't think she's—" Amy reached over and switched off the CB. "You don't need that. How did—" "We're almost there, David. Just keep driving." The road ahead split into two paths. Amy pointed to the right. "That way." But as I started to turn right, my headlights caught something on the left path. A wooden sign, old and weathered. "Danger. Road washed out. Do not enter." "Amy, why would you want me to go toward the dangerous path?" She turned to face me, and in the green glow of my dashboard lights, I could see through her. She was translucent, like a photograph double exposed. "Because," she said, and her voice sounded different now, echoing like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. "I've been alone on these roads for so long. 43 years, to be exact, ever since my daddy's car went over the cliff on a foggy night just like this one." I slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop just feet from where the road dropped off into nothing. In the fog below, I could see the rusted remains of an old car wrapped around a tree. "I just wanted some company," Amy said sadly. "The other drivers who took this road, they were so scared. But you seemed nice. I thought maybe you'd want to stay." I threw the truck in reverse and started backing up as fast as I dared. In my mirrors, I could see Amy standing in the road, getting smaller and smaller as I drove away from her. It took me 3 hours to find my way back to the main highway. When the sun came up and the fog finally lifted, I realized I'd been parked at the edge of a 1,000-foot drop. If I'd driven another 10 feet, I would have gone right over. I found a gas station and called the West Virginia State Police. Told them about the dangerous road and the washed-out section. The officer I talked to wasn't surprised. "Yeah, we get reports about that area pretty regular," he said. "Back in 1981, a man named Robert Carpenter and his teenage daughter Amy were driving through those mountains during a storm. Their car went over the cliff. We never recovered the bodies." The officer said drivers have been getting lost on those roads for decades. Most of them find their way back to the highway eventually, but some don't. "How many don't make it out?" I asked. More than I like to think about. I don't drive through West Virginia anymore. I take the long way around, even if it adds 6 hours to my trip. Because sometimes when I'm driving through fog at night, I can still hear Amy's voice on the CB radio. "This is Amy. I know a shortcut. Can anybody hear me? I don't want to be alone anymore." Some roads are meant to stay empty. Some shortcuts lead you exactly where you're never supposed to go. Thanks for listening. If you made it through all 3 stories, you're braver than most. But remember, the next time you see someone hitchhiking on a lonely road at night, maybe just keep driving. Sometimes the person who needs help the most is the one you should never, ever help. And if you're a trucker reading this, well, you already know. The highway keeps its own rules, and sometimes those rules don't make sense until it's too late.